Okay, a very good day to Dr. Un Shiming, and we are Group 12. We will present about the life of mathematician Pythagoras today. My name is Bang Kok Tang, and my teammate Muhammad Hidayatullah and Muhammad Kamaru Shami. Okay, next. Early life of Pythagoras. He was born on the island of Samos in 569 years before Christ, and it's said that his death is around 495 before Christ in Metapontum. And his father, Nisarchus, was a gem merchant, and his mother's name was Pythes. Pythagoras had 2 or 3 brothers. So some historians say that Pythagoras was married to a woman named Theano, and he had a daughter Damo and a son named Pelagius, who succeeded Pythagoras as a teacher and possibly taught Empedocles. Others say that Theano was one of his students, not his wife, and says that Pythagoras never married or had no children. Next. Next slide. Okay. Education. So Pythagoras was a very well educated person, and he also played lyre, and know poetry. So he was interested in mathematics, philosophy, astronomy, and music, and was greatly influenced by philosophy, maths, and geometry teachings, and astronomy. So Pythagoras left Samos for Egypt in about 535 years to study with the priors in the temples. So many practices of the society he created later in Italy can be traced to the beliefs of Egyptian priors, such as the codes of secrecy, striving for purity, and refusal to eat beans or to wear animal skins as clothing. Teachings. So after Pythagoras founded a philosophical and religious school where his many followers lived and worked. So they are called the Pythagoreans, and they live by the rules of behavior, including when they spoke, what they wore, and what they ate. Pythagoras was the master of the society, and the followers who also lived there was known as mathematicoi. They had no personal possession and were vegetarians. And they happened to have another separate group of followers who live apart from the school, which are allowed to have their personal possession and were not expected to be vegetarians. And they all worked communally on discoveries and theories. Okay, so I'll pass it to Hidayat for contributions.
So next we go for his contribution. Pythagoras made huge contribution in the field of astronomy, mathematics, philosophy, music, and many other areas. He is considered as the father of philosophy, and this can be through his teachings, his theory, and his philosophy. So first we go for his contribution in mathematics. As we all know that Pythagoras is the most famous for his ideas in geometry. Pythagoras' theorem is a fundamental relation in Euclidean geometry among the 3 sides of right triangle. He was the first to propose that the square of hypotenuse is equivalent to the sum of square of the opposite 2 sides. So he came up with the formula of a square plus b square equal to c square. Next, instead of being the father of mathematics, he also credited as well as the father of music. He discovered that the musical interval and thought that we could heal using the sound and harmonic frequency. So he came up with the idea of pentagram tuning, where the idea has been used until today in the piano and many other instruments. Pythagorean tuning is a system of music. Pythagorean tuning is a system of musical tuning in which the frequency ratio of all intervals are based on the ratio of 3/2. So next we go for his contribution in astronomy. Pythagoras was the first non-Westerner to declare that the Earth was round. He discovered that the curved shape of the shadow cast upon the moon during an eclipse. He also demonstrated that day and night were the result of the Earth's revolution, and the moon is bright because it reflects light originating from the sun. Next, he was also the first one to divide the globe into 5 climatic zones, where it was from the cold polar to the warmer equatorial region, and the change in the season was due to the tilt of Earth as it relates to the sun. He also was the first to identity. He was first to identify of the morning and evening star as the planet Venus, where the Venus was the brightest planet of all and also called as the wandering star. Okay, that's all from me. So we go to the next presenter.
Okay, now I, Muhammad Kamal Shami, will continue with another contributions of Pythagoras, which is the Platonic solids. Platonic solids is technically is a contribution for of some mathematician and also philosophers, but it is also have some credits to the Pythagoras as well. So what is the Platonic solids? The Platonic solids is defined as a geometric solid whose faces are identical with each corner met at the same 3D angle of it. What I mean with the fish faces are identical is the face has the same shape, same 2D shape, like it's all pentagon, it's all triangle, and so on. Okay. Entirely the Platonic solids have only 5 forms of it, which is the tetrahedron, aka the pyramid, and also the popular cube, the dodecahedron, the octahedron, and the icosahedron. So this is all the Platonic solids. So this is all the 5 of it. So we can see that the tetrahedron is the pyramid, but what makes it different than other famous pyramids is that all the faces are all triangles. Like we are already seen the pyramid with a ground of a square, but this is all triangle. The cube is as we know cube lah. So it's all it's all square face, and the octahedron is another triangle, but it is the face is egg facet. So we can so octa is means egg, so it has egg facet. Okay, dodecahedron is all the pentagons, all pentagon faces, and it all have the I think it's rough face. So icosahedron is another Platonic series with all triangle faces, which have quite many faces as well. So the what differentiate the all Platonic solids is all the number of faces and the shape as well. So why the Platonic solids is related to Pythagoras is that the Pythagoras is said to discover the first two solid, which is the tetrahedron, the cube, and the octahedron. While the latter two, which is the dodecahedron and the icosahedron, was first mentioned by Thetis. However, the grouping concept and the names of the word group means the word concept of Platonic solids was discussed further and introduced further by Euclid in his book of Elements and Plato in his dialogue in Timaeus. Also, as the as as the Pythagorean solids, so the Platonic solid is also known by as the Pythagorean solid because back then when in his school when he's teaching, Pythagoras also teach this as well. So what? So the Platonic solid is that now actually very popular, which is some uses it is to introduce the model of the universe, like Johannes kept the model of the universe as well, and also some inspires many architecture from ancient Egypt until the modern years. So that's what I can say about the Platonic solids lah. So so I pass back to Tang for the chapter.
Okay, so I will now talk about Pythagoras accomplishments. Next slide. Pythagoras have a lot of contributions throughout his lifetime, I will list out the main contributions of Pythagoras. So firstly is his belief of metempsychosis, which is belief that all spirits are godlike and that after death, a spirit moves into another body. Numerology, Pythagoreans were mainly concerned with basic arithmetic, which eventually led to the beginnings of modern mathematics. And also he's teaching about the public way of life, which both Plato and the ancient orator Isocrates suggest that Pythagoras was an advocate for a new way of life, which is referring to the Pythagorean, the group of Pythagorean. And music and lifestyle. Pythagoras was the first person to recommend music as a prescription. He connected music to craftsmanship, design, government, raising a family, fellowship, and self-improvement. Cosmology. Pythagoras was the first person to suggest that Earth was a sphere, but it's not clear what led him to that conclusion. And mathematics. Pythagoras started the idea of a numerical system and therefore beginning of the mathematics. And the most famous Pythagoras theorem, which Pythagoras is most famous for his idea in geometry. He was the first to propose that the square of a hypotenuse, the side of triangle opposite to the right angle, is equivalent to the sum of the squares of the opposite two sides. And Pythagoras philosophy. Pythagoras established the mysterious society of the Pythagoreans in southern Italy, and the Pythagoreans put forward a hypothesis that stated that everything known to humankind could be clarified with numbers, explicitity, and higher numbers. So that's all for our presentation. Thank you, Doctor.